Hello, Rebel, and welcome back to my life. Today I'm going to try to provide a valuable service to my fellow white people. I'm going to give you a little jingle to help you remember to pay attention to things that might be racist. As always, when I talk about this topic, your first lesson is that people of color have priority in this conversation. They know what they're talking about better than we do, so you should spend some time listening to them and take their word over mine. With that being said, I want to spend some time talking about things that are definitely racist, and then also some other similar situations that you might not think are racist, but actually really are. We as white people tend to have a blind spot when it comes to like subtler types of racism because we're unaware of how they perpetuate stereotypes and make things more difficult for people of color. And we look at more obvious types of racism as proof that we can't be doing anything bad because we're clearly not as bad as they are. For example, when your uncle gets drunk at a family gathering and blurts out that black people are criminals, that's fucking racist. You know that, I know that, everyone at the gathering gets uncomfortable. Even if no one actually does anything except for maybe roll their eyes and say, well, that's just Uncle Joe. But what about when your cousin who watches just a little bit too much of the wrong kind of YouTube says, it's just a statistical fact that urban populations commit more crimes. That's still pretty racist. Because urban is a dog whistle for not white. And even if you are not intending to use it that way, it will be heard that way by a lot of listeners. Yet pretty much across the board, when all social and economic factors are taken into account, all races commit roughly the same amount of crime. But non-white people are arrested, convicted, and incarcerated at grossly disproportionate levels for the same offenses. How about the infamous professional football team that still uses a racist caricature and name for their official team logo? That's fucking racist. But then, what about your reasonable relative who says, I understand why that's upsetting, but aren't there real problems in the world you should be worrying about? That's still pretty racist. Arguments just like these are used to dismiss the concerns of people of color around the world, not just here in America. It's sometimes referred to as whataboutism, and when you really break it down, what it means is, okay, but I don't care about your concerns, and I want you to focus on what I care about. Except that actually, most often, it's just an attempt to shut the other person up. How about when Donald gets up on TV and describes immigrants as rapists and murderers? That's fucking racist. But sometimes someone doesn't appear to be blatantly discriminatory, they just give arguments about people from poor countries and how they're taking jobs. That's still pretty racist. That argument immediately frames its complaints about immigrants only from certain non-white countries. Because plenty of people immigrate from Europe too, but that's not who these people are talking about when they say those countries are poor. And when they're looking at a white Swedish immigrant who flips burgers and a Mexican immigrant working in the fields, guess which one gets accused of taking a job? So what if an employer excludes people of color from the hiring process early on because they make bad employees? That's fucking racist. But what about if you, with an opportunity to seek out and find talented individuals to fulfill a role in your company or group or organization or whatever, don't put active effort into building a diverse team? That's still pretty racist. Because generational race gaps do exist. 90% of the people around us are probably going to look just like us. And if we have a position of power, we should use it to give as much opportunity as we can to people who our society has oppressed for literally centuries. Because if we don't, no one will. I guess you don't necessarily have to feel bad if you're not actively doing something to combat the very real effect racism has in our society. But if you don't, that's still pretty racist. So not too long ago, Legacy Books put out the Chronicles of Underrealm, a series of short stories written by authors of various ethnicities, genders, sexualities, and abilities. And today, I would encourage you to check out these three titles: The Man and the Satyr by E.L. Drayton, Tides of War by Leandra Sy, and The Legend of Cabras by Antoine Bandelet. Links in the doobly-doo. Also, a huge thanks to That Ninja and Oh Snap Pro Choice on Tumblr for contributing some scenarios to this video. That is it for today, Rebel. Did you notice this awesome new shirt? Well, you too can allow it to gently caress your skin, and it's a big way to support what I do here. Check the merchandise link. Let me know your favorite or least favorite still pretty racist scenarios in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you next Friday. Bye!